Kia ora, and welcome back to another RISE interview. And today I have with me is the beautiful Parekawhia McLean. Morena Parekawhia.
Kia ora hoa.
Oh, it's great to have you, and I know you've got a busy schedule, so I'm going to dive straight into it. And just a bit of history about how I have connected with Parekawhia. She had just over 5 years, nearly 6 years as CEO with Waikato-Tainui, and I know she's had an amazing journey there, and she's just entered into her next journey, which is with the New Zealand Transport Agency as a regional director for Waikato and Bay of Plenty. And I'm really delighted for her in her new chapter. So we've caught her in her first month of her new role. So I'm going to hand over to Parekawhia just to do an introduction about yourself. Kia ora.
Kia ora no tātou katoa. Tuatahi tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou. Ko taupiri te maunga, ko Waikato te awa, ko Waikato-Tainui te iwi, ko Ngāti Māhanga te hapu, I whānau I tupu hoki au I whatawhata, ki te rua Waikato. Nō reira, nei rā te mihi atu ki a koutou katoa, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou.
Oh, kia ora. So Parekawhia has just shared with you her ancestral history, where she heralds from, which is the Waikato-Tainui region, and we have a lot of connections because I'm also Waikato-Tainui, so I'm really proud to have another Waikato-Tainui woman with me here today. So kia ora Parekawhia, ngā mihi nui ki a koe, e te wahine toa, e te mana wahine. Nau mai, haere mai ki te hui hui ngā I tēnei rangi. So today I really wanted to really start with who has really inspired you, Parekawhia, in your journey as a leader within our tribal area, but as a leader in general?
Oh, I think there's been several, but if I start at a very personal whānau level, I always acknowledge my own tupuna, particularly my great-grandmother, who was 114 when she passed, and my mother spent a lot of time with her grandmother, and as we were growing up as kids in whatawhata, my mother would take us to see her in Kawhia, and so I was always inspired, not only because she lived such a long life, and she outlived a couple of her own children, but right up until her passing, she was very well. She was sharp and so on, and so I think of her. I think also of my mother's mother, my grandmother. Again, she lived almost into her 90s. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, and so they were really important women in my life, but also my grandfather and my father, my brothers and sisters. So I draw inspiration from my own whānau, my mother, who is still with us. She's almost 90. But then at a professional level, I've been really fortunate to have worked alongside a number of leaders, both men and women. Much of my professional career and training was in the public service in Wellington. I then left, set up my own business, and then came back home and was very fortunate and blessed to be the CEO for Waikato-Tainui. Someone that stands out for me whenever I'm asked this question about, your mentors, someone that was certainly a mentor for me in Wellington was the late Honourable Parekawhia McLean. Parekawhia at the time was a senior public servant when I first met him. He then went on to become a minister for Māori affairs. And what I loved about Parekawhia was his real people focus. He was very empathetic. He never ever lost that, both as a public servant and as a politician. And while I was studying in the United States in 1995-96, he was one of the people that supported me financially. And then when I came back to Wellington and worked in the public service, he needed a little bit of help when he first became the Minister of Māori Affairs, because he was using all of these big words. And Helen Clark said to me at the time when I was in Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, I think Parekawhia needs a hand. I think you should go down and help him. And I remember thinking, oh, I don't know. I don't know about Parekura, but then I thought, no, he helped me out.
Yes.
And so it was only proper and appropriate that I went to do that. And I spent about a year and a half as his advisor, political and policy advisor to him in that first part of his ministerial career. And that's what you do when you think about people that have helped you along your own journey. You know, there is that, I guess, that reciprocity, that utu that you have, and I'm very big and very strong on all of that.
Yes.
And then obviously more recently, I've again had the privilege to work alongside some pretty powerful leaders here in the tribe. I'm not going to name who they are. I think you probably know who some of them are.
Yeah.
And you do, you know, you just observe and you learn, but then you inject your own leadership to the business as well.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I was abroad for pretty much most of the time that you were in your CEO role with Waikato-Tainui, but I know that, you know, you left a legacy. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people who were working with you, a lot of people of the iwi, and they only have great things to say about your leadership time with Waikato-Tainui. So thank you, Parekawhia, for leading the way for us as women, and really setting a precedent about what leadership looks like for Māori women.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. But I also am very, very clear that that only happens when you've got a good team around you. And so I've always acknowledged our kaimahi, the leadership that I've received from my governors, because it was very challenging when I first started with Waikato-Tainui. There were some major governance and what I call leadership challenges that were happening between personalities. But despite that, as the CEO, and when you're managing a program of action, which I was, you've got to be very focused on what is going to be in the best interest of the people. And in our particular case, you know, the bride was important servition. So that was, I was very clear about that.
Yeah, and yeah, I think the people really appreciated that clarity. So moving into, and when we talk about Māori women in leadership, what are some of the unique skills, do you think, that Māori women bring to that leadership space, Parekawhia, from your personal perspective?
Wow. Well, I forgot to also mention who I consider to be my some of my other role models, and there are two in particular from Waikato-Tainui, Te Puia, and the late Te Ariki Nui, Dame Te Aotearangi Kahu, our queen. And when I think of Te Puia, she was very, very courageous, very strong, but also again had at the heart of what she did was the people, and obviously revitalising the kingitanga in those days. You know, I talked to our kaumātua who spent a lot of time around her, and some of the things they did when they were children growing up with her around the marae. So she was very much around, you know, actions speak louder than words, and she had, you know, very much the people, our people at the heart. Te Ariki Nui, again, I think was different. She brought a much more, I think, global perspective, particularly drawing our Pacific whānau to Waikato, to Tūranga Waiwai. She was all about partnerships. And so, you know, I always recall at her tangianga, just all of the diverse groups, and not just iwi, but a lot of the groups that she was involved with, who had very fond memories of the times that they spent with her. And this is, you know, from the League right through the various ethnic communities. So they really stand out for me, and they're the sort of qualities that they have, and others, about bringing our people together, being collaborative, having a very strong focus around our people and outcomes. Really a focus on not just the here and now, but the future, building a better future, that whole intergenerational perspective. I think too, as wahine, we're good at dealing with those grey spaces. That's probably how it's not necessarily black and white.
Yeah.
I think we're good at ambiguity and trying to navigate our way around finding solutions, not just focus on the problem, but being collaborative around solutions too.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I think those getting to the outcomes, working with people, and and they're quite complex situations that we find ourselves in, whether it be in iwi, whether it be in corporate, being able to focus on outcome and work with others to get to an outcome, regardless of maybe personalities.
Yeah, bringing our own flavour to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we look at where we're at with women in leadership, and I'd really like to focus on, because this is really about Indigenous women and our place in society, across industries, across sector. Where do you feel we're at here in Aotearoa with women in leadership as Māori women?
Oh, look, I think honestly, we're several steps away where we should be and need to be as a nation, and particularly for Māori women. I've always taken the view that we need to see more Māori women occupying leadership roles. Doesn't matter what the sector is, whether it's within iwi, not-for-profit, in the corporate sector, in the public service. There's too few of us in those places and spaces, and we need to be more visible and more present. But I get concerned when I see reports like I did the other day, again, that gap between female and male lawyers. My daughter wants to be a lawyer, so she's going off to law school next year, and there's still that there's that gap between what male lawyers get charged out compared to our female lawyers. So we've got to do a lot of work to address that gender gap, not just in terms of pay, but also in governance. And also in management. So it has to happen at all levels. We need to have advocates that are actively promoting us into positions. And I know there's been a big debate around quotas, whether we should have that. I think we should. I think that in Australia, as I understand it, the stock exchange there for publicly listed companies, they have a benchmark. We haven't gone there yet. I think we should. We're not seeing that gap's not closing enough, and not fast enough anyway.
Yeah, and if we look back to where we've come from, being pioneering in that space of the suffragettes, having two prime ministers who were women, honestly, I came back to New Zealand after 15 years and thought, what's happened?
Yeah.
Why are we not leading the world and women in leadership, on boards, as corporate CEOs? And so there has been some, I don't know what you'd call it, but running on a treadmill, sort of going round and round and round, but not really having the impact that we need to. So kia ora to Quotas. I have seen the research mostly in the Nordic countries as well, where that has been successful. I think it's just about making sure that we do it our way. Yeah.
And the other thing, the observation that I would make too is that yes, we do have women in on boards and so on, but to me it appears like it's a selected group of women that are occupying those places and spaces now. And I want to see more Māori, I want to see more diverse women in there who are holding those leadership roles. So, the challenge for me too is for those other women to make those positions available and start to actively mentor others that are coming through. So that pipeline. Which is what Oversee Global Woman has set out to do. But, big ups to you in the movement around RISE2025. I think it's very exciting and I'm very supportive.
Oh, thank you. And it is interesting where we're at today, but the positive of this is that we've just come from the Westpac Women of Influence Awards, and we did see more Māori women being nominated in each of the categories. Yourself and Teresa Pania Ashton were in the Board of Management category. We had Mavis Mullins, who won the Rural category. And, you know, I was very honoured and very humbled to be amongst the Lynn Provost, who won our category, which was the Global category. So we are making inroads into those spaces. So, you know, that's the positive side of where we're at today. And so what do you do actively, Parekawhia, to advocate? What do you do in your daily life around advocating for women, young girls into leadership roles, into education? What's your role? What do you see your role as?
Well, first of all, as a mother, I mean, I've got 2 daughters, Kiriata and Te Uranga, and so, you know, I think for the girls and also all my nieces that I had and nephews, you know, education is really important, and it has always been important in my own whānau. And so we've set that expectation amongst them that, especially the girls, that they can do anything, and that's exactly what they have done. And, you know, having that self-belief, you've got to continue to encourage them. So, you know, I'm very proud of my oldest daughter, who rang me after sort of halfway through her first year to tell me the news she was pregnant. But despite that, you know, she said to me, "Mum, don't worry, I'm just going to take 1 semester off, but I'm going back to finish my degree." And why I'm really proud of her is that's exactly what she did. She took a semester off, and she's always had strong whānau support around her. And I was the guest speaker at her graduation. So having done the kōrero and I guess seeing my own daughter come up to receive her bachelor's degree in music and composition, she worked, not only was she a mother, young mother, but she also worked part-time in Wellington. She was doing her degree, then went back again to finish off her honours degree in composition, and now she's working at, I think, Creative New Zealand in Wellington. So, you know, that to me is a really strong message we send to our girls and my nieces, that you can continue to be all of those things, to be a mother, to study, to work and make a contribution. Likewise with Te Uranga, her youngest sister, she spent 7 months in Italy last year, and again she made the call to go on an AFS exchange. I was a bit nervous about it, halfway around the world, and was going to miss her. She took all of that time off, had no Italian at all, so went into a whānau that couldn't speak English, so she really had to cope. And I said, you know, you've got to back yourself, which she did. She picked up the reo, the language, came back last August, went back to school, and she had to really work hard to complete her NCA level 2, which she did with excellence endorsement. And so she's a prefect. This is her last week at Mount Albert Grammar.
Wow.
Going up to her prize giving next week. And so, you know, we as a whānau have always instilled that in our daughters, but also my nieces as well. So that's the first thing. Secondly, certainly when I was with Waikato-Tainui, spent a lot of time with our rangatahi. There were a couple that I've been mentoring, and I've always mentored over my time, even in Wellington. So I still keep in touch. I also like to promote other wahine into things like the Global Women's Program, and want to do the same for RISE2025. I was very active in supporting development opportunities for my senior women leaders in the tribe, Waikato-Tainui management. So when I left, Donna Flavel's acting CEO at the moment. Again, I supported her through her journey. So, you know, I'm always proactively looking out for opportunities, and I come across, and you do too, some amazing Māori women doing fantastic things. It's wonderful to see.
And I don't think we're short of talent. You know, I truly don't think that we're short of talent. What I think is probably, and what I'm hearing is the challenge, is actually deciding, you know, which pathway, in terms of our rangatahi, which pathway we take. So, you know, I see one of our roles is just that coaching and mentoring and guiding them to those industries, those roles, and sometimes enterprise, so growing your own business, that really has a sustainable future.
Well, I said to my youngest daughter, Te Uranga, when she told me she wanted to be a lawyer, I went, well, we've got too many lawyers at the moment. I said, have you thought about doing sciences? Because she's also very good at science. But this was her whakautu to me.
Yes.
Her response was, well, Mum, after I've done my law degree, I'm then going to go and study overseas, maybe at the London School of Economics or Harvard. and then I want to go and work as an intern at the White House. This is her telling me this. Then she's corrected herself and went, well, no, I don't think I want to do that if Donald Trump's the president. So I've done that, Mum. I'll come back to New Zealand and I'll be in my late 20s. So, you know, I think I probably would want to come back and either get into foreign affairs or be a politician.
Wow.
So this is from a 17-year-old telling her mother this, and I'm going, okay, well, that sounds like a good plan. See what happens.
Love it. But, you know, just the ability to dream and turning dreams into reality. That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah. And, you know, I go back to I went back to my old high school, Fraser High, 2 or 3 years ago. Spoke to a group of, they were probably 15, 16-year-olds, and my key message to them is to always dream big. You know, back yourself, don't give up. And we went around the table, and some of them told me, you know, one wanted to be an All Black, another wanted to be a Silver Fern, and someone else wanted to go to university, and someone wanted to, I think, be a Formula One motor car race. I thought, fantastic, you know, but really encourage them, especially in our kids.
Yes. And, you know, the future is in our next generation. So, you know, how can we support that? How can we tautoko and awhi them to get to where they want to go and take some of the learnings we've had, but also just be there to support, to listen to them. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And so as we move into this next chapter that you're in, you're in a new role. It's the first month, and from our kōrero, it's been a great first month for you. What's next for you in this role? What do you hope to get out of this role in terms of your leadership?
Oh, look, what really attracted me to come to the transport agency was one that, you know, it's in terms of leadership, it's a strategic leadership role. I'm still part of the senior leadership team, so I spend at least a day, sometimes 2 days in Wellington with our CEO and the rest of my peers. There are very few women, and certainly I would be the only Māori woman that's in a strategic leadership role in the transport sector. So, you know, I was obviously attracted by the fact that that's going to test me, continue to challenge me, which is what I like. I like to be challenged. Learning a new business in terms of transport, roads, freight, you know, everything, it affects our daily lives. You know, we've got to get to work, vehicles, driver licensing, and so on. So I wanted the opportunity to contribute in that space. So the first month and probably the next couple of months are really learning for me, because I've got to get up to speed very quickly around the business. The leadership piece, however, isn't any different to what I've done before, because the neat opportunity I have in front of me is that I'm coming into an organisation that's going through a strategy refresh. We're looking at how and if we are fit for purpose. So there's some changes that are going to happen. So, you know, I'm contributing to that thinking. You know, people are people. Doesn't matter whether you're Māori or whatever. You know, you still got to manage people. They have responsibilities. You're accountable for things. So that piece doesn't change. So I'm still managing people. It's bigger. There's 2 offices, one in Hamilton and one in Tauranga. So I go between the 2 offices here. But the exciting part for me too was I get to stay in the Waikato. And I wasn't ready yet to, I guess, return to Wellington or move anywhere else, because I did have other opportunities in front of me. I did have another option, which would have meant I'd, had I accepted it, would have gone back to Wellington. And to be honest, my friend, I felt like I still had some unfinished business here in Waikato, and I wanted to be able to do that in this particular role, but also continue to make a contribution to those things that I'm passionate about, including iwi.
Wonderful. And so how do you keep yourself well, and because it's about our energy and what we bring to leadership? What's your secret recipe for wellness and hauora?
Well, I have to say I wasn't very good when I first started at the tribe. I allowed things to at times overwhelm me, I think certainly in that first sort of 18 months. But then I got into, and I'd always been physically well. So, I get up early in the morning, I run, I exercise. But more importantly for me, that's my thinking time. So, I get to reflect on what's happening in my day, if there's anything that I've still got to, it's got to stop procrastinating about and get on to. So that's really important. I'm also very fortunate that at any time I've got a really, a close-knit or group of friends and whānau that if I need to talk to them about issues or things, I can. They know who they are. And, it's only a handful of really trusted people that I can say, look, this didn't go so well, or I'm thinking of doing this. And even my decision to leave the tribe. And it's really important you do have a really good circle around you that also reminds you, you're working too hard, or you need a break. So, that's the other thing. I've come into this role where it is very demanding, but it's not on the same level as working with the iwi, where I was, nights and weekends, whereas here, I find, I very rarely work a weekend, but certainly, the days are long during the week. So that's what I do. I draw, because I live right next to our tupunawa, the river, and so I'm very blessed because I get to see her every day from my window, and I can go down and spend time down the river too. So from a spiritual Wairua perspective, it's important to have all of those bases covered as well.
Wonderful. And if you had to, as we wrap up, if you had to leave a message for our younger women and women in general, especially our Māori women, what would be that message that you'd love to impart for them based on your experience?
Believe in yourself. Don't ever give up. Listen to your mum and dad. Or your main caregiver. I think, just like I said before, having dreams, and just remaining focused and disciplined, and knowing that you're not alone.
Absolutely.
There are always others that are there to help and guide you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that network, what I've listened to in our kōrero is that network that you surround yourself with is really important. And what's the saying? Someone said it on another interview, you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself mostly with. So I think having that strong network, whānau, other women's networks, best friends, mentors, coaches, I think those are really important for our wahine today.
Yeah, they are, and look, they are the ones that will particularly back you when times are most challenging. And I think I really learned and valued that in my last 1.5 years with the tribe. I got to know who those people are, and I also know that they're the ones that will be with me in my journey going forward. They've been there when it hasn't been so good, and they've been there when it's been good and positive, as it was when I left the iwi a month ago. It was great leaving on, really positive terms. We had a good result through our annual report. There's a lot happening. and it's wonderful to leave like that.
It's a great way to exit one role and enter into the next. So I think we can learn a lot from your way of doing things. And thank you for being a great role model for as a mother, as a Māori woman. I know from the outside looking in, before I came back to New Zealand, you were one of few that had such a more of a public profile, so I was able to see what you were up to and how you had transformed, but it's changed now, and I think that's great to see more of our Māori women who are more publicly profiled. I think that's a really positive thing. And then from a global perspective, as I continue to work with Indigenous women, your story, your and continued journey, I think is a real inspiration that I like to draw on when I'm talking to other Indigenous women globally around business and leadership. So thank you for being my inspiration, Parekawhia.
Kia ora. Thank you. It was lovely to talk to you again.
Yeah, so thank you for taking time out of your diary. And I know that we will continue to connect, and thank you for your support with RISE2025. It's much, much appreciated, e hoa.
Tēnā koe.
Ka kite anō, and we will see each other, I know, in different kaupapa and different events. Ka kite.
Ai. Mā te wā.